A trade war looms following the U.S. announcement of new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China by President Trump, with the latter responding with subsequent retaliation. Trump now says the EU is next in line. The nation's constitutional court postponed giving its ruling on the case that could determine whether the presidential impeachment trial will be reviewed by its current 8 justices or a full 9-member bench, the result of which could be crucial to the verdict on President Yoon. Industrial output gained 1.7% in 2024 from a year ago, backed by strong chip performance, while retail sales remained weak. It's February 3rd, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced imposition of tariffs on key trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China. Now the EU will be on his next tariff target. Shin Ha-young reports on the looming trade war.
After announcing tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, U.S. President Donald Trump is now setting his sights on the European Union.
It will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, we have over a $300 billion deficit.
He criticized the EU as unfair, claiming that while the U.S. buys millions of European cars, Europe doesn't buy American cars and agricultural products. This comes after Trump on Saturday announced a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico, while China was hit with an additional 10% tariff on various existing duty rates.
If we have a U.S. bank, they don't allow them to go in. Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in.
Trump said he will hold talks with the leaders from Canada and Mexico on Monday, a day before the tariffs on the U.S.'s top 2 trading partners take effect. The tariffs are expected to be met with retaliatory measures from the affected countries and are also expected to lead to higher inflation. Economists also predict that the ensuing trade war would likely slow U.S. growth. U.S. magazine Forbes forecasts that tariff could increase the amount middle-class U.S. households pay for goods by $1,700, while the Wall Street Journal slammed Trump's tariff plans, calling them the dumbest trade war in history. However, Trump says while Americans may feel economic pain from his tariffs, it would be worth the price in order to secure U.S. interests. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
As expected, the 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and China, that are facing the first set of Trump tariffs have vowed to retaliate. An Song-jin covers their response in detail.
Following the imposition of tariffs by the U.S., China stated that it would challenge Trump's move.
The unilateral imposition of tariffs by the U.S. seriously violates World Trade Organization rules, which is not conducive to solving its own problems, but disrupts normal China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation.
In a written statement from the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, China expressed strong discontent and added that not only will it file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization, but it will take other countermeasures to safeguard its rights and interests. Though nothing has been specifically stated, some of its retaliation measures may be hardening export controls on rare earth metals or targeting U.S. companies with interests in China. There's also speculation that China may impose a 10% tariff on U.S. imports after Tuesday, when Trump's new sanctions will be put in place. Mexico and Canada have also vowed immediate retaliatory measures against the U.S. for tariffs imposed on both countries. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Saturday posted on X that she has informed her economy minister to implement what she called Plan B, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests.
This measure of 25% tariffs has effects for both countries, but it has very serious effects for the economy of the United States, as it is going to greatly increase the costs of all products that are exported from Mexico to the United States.
Canada responded with a 25% tariff on American goods, including beer and wine, starting Tuesday, while Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also urged Canadians to restrict travel to the U.S. and to boycott U.S. products, adding that Americans will feel pain from Trump's tariffs.
This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people.
A spokesman for the European Commission said the EU regrets U.S. tariffs against neighboring countries and China and vowed to respond strongly to unfair levies leveled against the bloc. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Acting President Choi Sang-mok pledged to mobilize all possible means to minimize any negative impacts from Trump's tariffs. During a meeting with local companies on Monday, Choi said the government will not only maintain communication with the U.S., but also engage with the Mexican and Canadian governments, as well as Korean businesses in those regions. The authorities also plan to allocate 2.9 trillion won, or nearly $2 billion, to support export initiatives. This comes as the benchmark Kospi surrendered 2.5% on Monday to close at 2,453. The Korean won also weakened against the U.S. dollar, with the exchange rate ending at 1,467 won against the greenback. In other news, will the Constitutional Court's final ruling with regard to President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial include 8 or 9 justices? Now, that is the question as the court next week shares its verdict on a related matter. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young explains.
The Constitutional Court has postponed its verdict on whether acting President Choi Sang-mok should have appointed a third judge to fill the court bench's remaining seat, a crucial ruling as the bench deliberates on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial. On Monday, the 8-member bench was set to convene at 2 p.m. to issue a ruling on a competence dispute filed by National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik against the acting president's decision to appoint only 2 out of 3 candidates recommended by the Assembly. Lawyer Kim Jong-un also filed a complaint, arguing that Choi's appointment was unconstitutional. However, the court announced it would hold a hearing on the competence dispute 1 week later on February 10th, while indefinitely postponing a ruling on Kim's petition. Under pressure from both ends of the political spectrum, Choi in late December chose to instate 2 candidates, one recommended by the ruling party and one by the opposition party. But he omitted left-leaning Judge Ma Eun-hyuk, saying there should be a bipartisan agreement on the third candidate. The Assembly's resolution to appoint the judges was forced through by the majority-holding opposition party, which recommended 2 progressive candidates. The Speaker, who comes from the opposition party, claims Choi has disregarded the Parliament's decision by only partially enacting the resolution. The ruling People Power Party, however, called for the case to be scrapped and says the Speaker's competence dispute bypassed a formal vote at the National Assembly.
The court's composition is a particularly sensitive issue as it comes amid President Yoon's trial, which requires a 2/3 majority vote or 6 justices to uphold his impeachment.
The ruling party and Yoon supporters have raised concerns about the political orientation of the bench, which is already deemed to have 4 left-leaning judges. Experts say the court has likely postponed the decision as Ma's appointment would mean that the bench's verdict on Yoon's impeachment could look politically driven, giving rise to further controversy.
In the impeachment trial of former President Park Geun-hye, the ruling was unanimous, 8-0, including even conservative justices. This led the public to accept the decision as a legal judgment rather than a political one. However, if President Yoon's impeachment results in a split decision, such as a 5-4, it could be seen as purely political. If the justices' votes align perfectly along political lines, the public may lose trust in the court's impartiality.
At the same time, if the court finds Choi Sang-mok's partial appointment unconstitutional, there would be significant pressure on the acting president to appoint Ma Eun-hyuk as the 9th justice to the bench. Press officer Chun Jae-yeon said Monday that while the court's verdict would not be mandatory, ignoring it would amount to a violation of the Constitution and the law. As the decision is not legally binding, observers say it is likely Choi would sustain the 8-member bench until a compromise is reached between the ruling and opposition parties. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Against this backdrop, the president had visitors at Seoul Detention Center earlier today. The leadership of the ruling People Power Party during which he sent some message. Our political correspondent Kim Do-yeon has more.
For the first time, the leadership of the ruling People Power Party visited President Yoon Suk-yeol at Seoul Detention Center. On Monday, as announced a day earlier, interim chair Kwon Young-se, floor leader Kwon Sung-dong, and senior lawmaker Na Kyung-won spent 30 minutes with President Yoon.
He urged our party to unite and play a role in giving hope to the people, including the younger generation in their 20s and 30s. He also expressed concerns about the current international situation and the global economy, particularly regarding South Korea's future.
Also, according to Na, Yoon repeated the reasons behind his declaration of martial law, that the main opposition, Democratic Party of Korea, had put the government in paralysis, using its supermajority. The meeting comes after the floor leader announced yesterday that this was a personal visit to show support for an old friend and not a political move. This comes as President Yoon heads into a busy week. 2 appearances at the Constitutional Court on Tuesday and Thursday, and with the criminal trial also underway now, there could be extra court appearances. For the impeachment motion trial at the Constitutional Court, key military personnel will take the witness stand to testify as to Yoon's orders during the declaration and the brief execution of martial law. They include Lee Jae-yong, former chief of the Defense Counterintelligence Command, and others. NIS Chief Cho Tae-yong and National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik have also been asked to appear as witnesses by Yoon's legal team. And with the criminal trial putting more burden on Yoon, Yoon's legal team requested the Constitutional Court to stop the review of his impeachment motion because of the criminal case that was ongoing for the same reason, his declaration of martial law. According to Article 51 of the Constitutional Court Act, this is a possibility. Yoon's legal team is also set to request bail for the president. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Over at the National Assembly, an extraordinary session began today. During an opening ceremony, Speaker Won-sik urged the rival parties to agree on a supplementary budget during the February's session. He also urged speeding of legislation on people's livelihoods and called for the quick completion of talks on bills supporting future industries, including semiconductors and energy. The floor leaders of the rival parties will give speeches to the Assembly next week. Starting next Wednesday, the Assembly will question government ministries for 3 days. Findings for 2024 show Korea's industrial output remained sturdy, but retail sales lost substantial ground. Moon Hye-ryun covers the latest data.
South Korea's industrial production saw a rise in 2024, largely driven by a recovery in semiconductor exports. However, domestic consumption indicators remained sluggish, highlighting a growing disparity between sectors. According to data from Statistics Korea on Monday, the country's overall industrial production index showed a 1.7% year-on-year increase. This growth outpaced the 1% increase recorded in 2023 and comes due to a strong performance in the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing output rose by 4.4%, a turnaround from the 2.6% decline recorded in 2023. Semiconductors and pharmaceutical production played a key role with a surge in exports, but domestic manufacturing shipments fell by 2%, underscoring weak domestic demand. The service sector saw slower growth, seeing the lowest since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 due to a downturn in retail and wholesale trade and hospitality services. Retail sales dropped by 2.2%, which is the sharpest annual decline since 2003. This also marks 3 straight years of contraction in retail sales, the longest streak of decline since data collection began. Sales fell across all three categories measured: durable goods such as automobiles, non-durable goods such as food, and semi-durable goods such as clothing. A spokesperson from the agency said that the impact of the political turmoil and the Jeju Air plane crash in December on these numbers is yet unclear.
Declines in industries like food and services, lodging, arts, sports, and leisure may have been influenced by the political climate and national mourning period in December. That said, it's difficult to isolate the exact impact of these factors from the numbers.
Construction activity, particularly in building projects, also recorded the biggest drop since 2001 last year, with a decline in completed construction work. Capital investment, however, grew by 4.1%, driven by increased spending on semiconductor manufacturing equipment and transportation equipment. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong has had his acquittal upheld by an appeals court with regard to allegations of unfairly merging Geil Industries and Samsung C&T. In 2015, Lee was accused of orchestrating the merger to secure control over Samsung Electronics, as Samsung C&T was a major shareholder of the company. Lee attended the ruling at the Seoul High Court earlier today, as the judges ruled that he was not guilty of a wide array of allegations ranging from illegal trading to market manipulation to breach of duty. Last year, a lower court cleared him of all charges, ruling that the merger appeared driven by business needs. Sam Altman, co-founder and CEO of U.S. artificial intelligence company OpenAI, will visit South Korea this week to attend an event with local developers. The Builder Lab event brings local companies and startups together amid the intensifying global AI race. Altman is expected to announce a collaboration with South Korea's dominant mobile platform Kakao and to expand joint business ventures, especially in the Asian market. Kakao introduced its conversational AI service, Kanana, last year. Watchers predict the company could integrate OpenAI's model into its AI platform. The South Korean Navy this past weekend showcased its newest destroyer in a training session for the first time. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung takes a closer look.
Sailing in the waters of the East Sea, the newest Aegis destroyer Jeongjo the Great detects a simulated North Korean submarine launching on SLBM from waters of Hamgyeongbuk-do province.
대장, 대공, 항색경보 발령. 총원, 전투 배치.
With a display in the Comet Command Center showing the missile's flight trajectory, the intercept missile was fired, hitting the SLBM in less than 10 minutes from the point of detection.
3, 2, 1, Mach India.
This was part of the ballistic missile defense exercise that took place over the weekend, conducted aboard the 170-meter-long, 21-meter-wide destroyer. The warship is capable of not only detecting and tracking ballistic missiles, but also intercepting them, as it is equipped with the ship-based surface-to-air missile system, SM-6, and possibly SM-3 as well. Showcasing Jeongjo the Great Aegis destroyer mobilized and in training for the first time is to mark the establishment of the newly formed Task Fleet Command. This 8,200-ton advanced destroyer will be Command's key asset. Newly launched on Saturday, the command will be based at the Jeju Naval Base and will operate multiple destroyers under the Rear Admiral's command, including not just Jeongjo the Great destroyer, but also 7,600-ton Taejong the Great class Aegis destroyers. And of course, Jeongjo the Great will be at the unit's core of the maritime three-axis system against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats.
Jeongjo the Great maintains the highest combat readiness through rigorous training to counter any possible maritime provocations. It is fully prepared to respond decisively and forcefully, regardless of when, where, and what circumstance.
Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. Joining us here in the studio is our sports editor, Paul Neat. Hello, Paul.
Hello there.
Let's start with golf and the season opener for LPGA. A great start to the year for Kim Ah-rim.
Yes, that's right. What's called a wire-to-wire win for Kim Ah-rim. On Sunday, local time in Orlando, Florida, Kim won the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions, finishing at 20 under par, 268, 2 strokes fewer than world number 1 Nelly Korda. Kim shot a 5 under 67 in the final round and was the only player on the course to be in the 60s throughout the entire weekend. It was her third LPGA victory, and she takes home $300,000 in prize money. Elsewhere, Go Jin-young tied for 4th, Kim Hyo-ju tied for 10th, Yoo Hae-ran tied for 14th, and Amy Yang tied for 22nd.
Right, moving on. The Asian Winter Games are just around the corner, and South Korean short trackers have a specific target in mind.
They do indeed, yes. They are aiming for 6 gold medals. The short track team departed for Harbin in China on Sunday, and at Incheon Airport before departure, head coach Yoon Jae-yong told the media there that the aim is to win 6 golds or more as the team is in decent form. The opening ceremony takes place on Friday, with short track races scheduled for earlier in the day. The first 5 gold, though, will be awarded on Saturday, so Team Korea might not have to wait too long to pick up the first few medals, particularly as there are Olympic medal and ISU World Cup winners in the squad, namely Choi Min-jung, Shim Seok-hee and Kim Gil-lee.
All right, fingers crossed. Moving on to football now. Some important contributions from Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in over the weekend.
Yes, correct. They both grabbed assists in wins for their teams. For Son, it came in a 2-0 win for Tottenham away to Brentford on Sunday. Son teed up Pape Matar Sarr 3 minutes from time for his 8th assist of the season. The win ended a run of 4 losses in a row in the league, but Spurs are still only 10 points above the drop zone. As for Lee Gang-in, his assist came in Paris Saint-Germain's win over Brest on Sunday. Lee set up Ousmane Dembele after the hour mark to make it 3-1 in an eventual 5-2 win. It was his 4th league assist of the season, to add to 6 goals in 20 appearances overall. PSG sit top, 10 points clear of Marseille.
Finally, to baseball, a South Korean star has moved clubs in Major League Baseball.
Yes, Kim Ah-sung has moved to the Tampa Bay Rays as a free agent. After leaving the San Diego Padres, Kim has signed a $29 million 2-year deal with the Rays. The Gold Glove winner will reportedly be the highest paid player at the club. But fans will have to wait to see him in action, as he is still recovering from shoulder surgery he underwent in October last year. He'll therefore miss the season opener on March 28th and is expected back in May. Kim had been with the Padres since 2021.
All right, thanks for that. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Even though today's 입춘 on the solar calendar, which means the beginning of spring, cold wave advisories and warnings have been issued all over the country. Even in the middle of the day today, temperatures stayed below 0 degrees Celsius in the whole metropolitan area. Starting with the Jeollado provinces, snow will expand to the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province tonight. Heavy snow of up to 25 centimeters is expected in Jeollabuk-do province. On the west coast, snow is expected to become thick from dawn tomorrow. Please take extra precautions. Most of the snowfall will continue until Thursday and until the weekend in the southwest and Jeju Island. Tomorrow's Seoul will be as cold as minus 13 degrees in the morning, Daejeon and Jeongjo at minus 9 degrees. Daily highs will only move up to minus 5 degrees in Seoul. Chuncheon will reach minus 4 degrees. The cold wave will continue this whole week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.